Welcome back to the channel, my spooky friends. I'm Sam, and tonight we're taking a chilling journey into the darkest corners of the most mundane places imaginable: garages. You see, garages are more than just places to park your car or store your tools. Tonight we delve into 3 true tales of haunted garages, each more unsettling than the last. So dim the lights, turn up the volume, and prepare to be thoroughly spooked. Our first story takes us to a small town in rural America, where a seasoned mechanic named Dale ran his own auto repair shop. Dale was a man of simple pleasures: the rumble of a well-tuned engine, the satisfaction of a job well done, and the quiet solitude of his garage late at night. Little did he know that solitude was about to be shattered. It began subtly, almost imperceptibly. A flicker of movement in the corner of his eye, a faint tapping sound when no one else was around. Dale initially dismissed these occurrences as tricks of the light or his imagination playing games with him. But the strange happenings persisted, growing bolder with each passing night. One evening, as Dale was working late, he swore he saw a figure standing at the far end of the garage, shrouded in the dim light. It was tall and gaunt, with an unnatural stillness that sent a shiver down his spine. Dale froze, his heart pounding in his chest. He blinked, expecting the figure to vanish, but it remained. Then, as quickly as it appeared, the figure vanished. Dale was left in the eerie silence, his breath coming in ragged gasps. The following nights were torture for Dale. Tools would inexplicably move, metal parts clattered to the floor as if pushed by an unseen hand. One night Dale had finally had enough. He grabbed his heaviest wrench and stalked through the darkened garage, his heart hammering in his chest. He called out, "Who's there? Show yourself!" Silence. Then a soft, mournful sigh seemed to emanate from the very walls of the garage. Dale spun around, his wrench raised, but there was nothing there. From that day forward, Dale never felt truly alone in his garage again. Even during the day, he would catch himself glancing over his shoulder, remembering the ghostly figure that haunted his nights. He confided in a close friend who suggested the spirit might be that of the previous owner, an old mechanic who had passed away in the very same garage. In an attempt to find peace, Dale lit a candle and left it burning in the garage overnight, hoping to appease the restless spirit. That night, for the first time in weeks, Dale slept peacefully. The disturbances ceased, and the garage returned to its former tranquility. Dale continued his work, always mindful of the presence that once shared his space. And so, in that small town in rural America, the tale of the mechanic's ghost became a whispered legend, a reminder of the unseen forces that sometimes linger in the places we least expect. Our next story takes us to the suburbs, where a young family moved into their dream home. They were filled with excitement and hope, eager to start a new chapter in their lives. The house was perfect in every way, with a spacious backyard for the kids to play in and a 2-car garage that promised ample storage space for all their belongings. But their idyllic life was soon disrupted by a series of unsettling events that originated from within the very walls of their new garage. It was as if the garage had a life of its own. It began with strange noises at night, faint scratching sounds, muffled thumps, and the occasional groan that seemed to echo through the empty space. These sounds were subtle at first, almost easy to ignore, but as the nights went on, the noises grew louder and more persistent, filling the garage with an eerie symphony that was impossible to ignore. The family initially dismissed these sounds as settling noises, typical of an older home. They tried to rationalize it, thinking it was just the house adjusting to its new occupants. Still, a nagging sense of unease began to creep into their minds. They couldn't shake the feeling that something was not quite right. As the days turned into weeks, the noises intensified, becoming more frequent and more unnerving. The family found themselves lying awake at night, straining to hear the source of the disturbances. The family would lie awake at night, listening to the unsettling symphony emanating from the garage. They checked the locks, making sure everything was secure, inspected for signs of forced entry, and even examined the walls and floors for any hidden gaps or cracks. They even called in a pest control specialist, hoping to find a logical explanation for the noises. The specialist searched every nook and cranny, but nothing seemed to explain the source of the disturbances. The family was left more puzzled than ever. One evening, as the family sat down for dinner, the noises reached a fever pitch. The sounds were so loud and jarring that they could no longer be ignored. The father, determined to get to the bottom of the mystery, grabbed a heavy flashlight and cautiously made his way towards the garage. His determination was mixed with a sense of dread. His heart pounded in his chest with each step. The closer he got to the garage, the more intense his anxiety became. He fumbled with the keys, his hand trembling slightly as he finally managed to unlock the door. The sound of the key turning in the lock seemed to echo ominously. The garage was plunged in darkness, the only light coming from the street lamp filtering through the small window. The shadows seemed to dance and shift in the dim light. He took a deep breath and flicked on the light switch. The fluorescent bulbs flickered to life, casting a harsh, unforgiving light on the cluttered space. The fluorescent bulbs flickered to life, casting a harsh, unforgiving light on the cluttered space. The garage was filled with boxes, tools, and various household items. At first glance, everything seemed to be in order. The familiar items were all in their usual places. But as the father took another step into the garage, he noticed something was amiss. A sense of foreboding washed over him. A cold draft seemed to emanate from the far corner, a palpable chill that sent goosebumps erupting on his arms. It was as if the air itself was warning him of something. He slowly turned his head towards the source of the draft, his flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. The beam revealed shadows and shapes that seemed to move just out of sight, and that's when he saw it. His eyes widened in shock and disbelief. A large, heavy-duty toolbox, which he distinctly remembered being tucked away beneath his workbench, was now lying on its side in the middle of the floor, its contents scattered around it. Tools that had been neatly organized were now strewn about, as if someone or something had rifled through them in a hurry. Our final story revolves around a 1967 Mustang Fastback, a car that was as beautiful as it was cursed. This car, with its sleek lines and powerful engine, was the epitome of American muscle. It was a deep, midnight blue, its chrome gleaming under the showroom lights, the kind of car that turned heads and ignited dreams. It was the kind of car that made people stop and stare, imagining themselves behind the wheel, feeling the power of the engine beneath them. But beneath its sleek exterior lay a dark and troubled past, a history steeped in tragedy and despair. The car seemed to carry an aura of sadness, as if it remembered every sorrowful event it had witnessed. It all began with the car's first owner, a young man named Michael, who poured his heart and soul into restoring the classic car. Michael was a passionate car enthusiast, and the Mustang was his dream project. He spent countless hours in his garage, meticulously bringing the Mustang back to its former glory. Every weekend, every spare moment was dedicated to the car. He replaced parts, polished the body, and made sure every detail was perfect, but fate, it seemed, had other plans. Despite all his hard work and dedication, the car seemed destined for tragedy. One fateful night, as Michael was driving home from a car show, he lost control of the Mustang on a rain-slicked road. The rain was pouring down, making the road slippery and treacherous. The car skidded off the road, flipping multiple times before coming to rest in a mangled wreck. The sound of metal crunching and glass shattering echoed through the night. Michael tragically did not survive the crash. His family and friends were devastated, and the car was left as a haunting reminder of his untimely death. The Mustang, though severely damaged, was somehow salvageable. It was taken to a junkyard where it sat for months, gathering dust and rust. It was purchased at auction by a local mechanic who saw potential beneath its battered exterior. He was determined to bring the car back to life, to restore it to its former glory. He spent months painstakingly repairing the car, replacing the wrecked engine, hammering out the dented bodywork, and restoring its once pristine paint job. Every day was a new challenge, but he was committed to the task. But as the mechanic worked on the car, he couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. There was an eerie presence in the garage, a sense that he was not alone. Tools would go missing, only to reappear in strange places. It was as if the car was playing tricks on him, testing his resolve. The garage lights would flicker erratically, casting eerie shadows that danced on the walls. The mechanic often found himself looking over his shoulder, feeling a chill run down his spine. and on more than one occasion, he could have sworn he heard the faint sound of a car engine revving, even though he was the only one in the garage. The sound was unmistakable, and it sent shivers down his spine. Despite the unsettling occurrences, the mechanic pressed on, determined to finish the restoration. He was driven by a sense of duty, a need to complete what he had started. Finally, after months of tireless work, the Mustang was complete. It looked better than new, a testament to the mechanic's skill and dedication. It looked better than new, its engine purring like a contented cat. The mechanic felt a sense of pride and accomplishment as he started the engine and heard it roar to life. The mechanic decided to take it for a spin, to experience the fruits of his labor firsthand. He drove through the streets, feeling the power of the engine and the smoothness of the ride. He had barely driven a mile when the trouble started. The car began to sputter and shake as if it was struggling to keep going. The car's engine sputtered, coughed, and died, leaving him stranded on the side of a deserted road. The mechanic was left alone in the dark, with only the sound of the wind and the distant hum of traffic to keep him company. Thank you for joining me tonight as we explored the chilling tales of these haunted garages. If you enjoyed these stories, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more spine-tingling content. And if you have any creepy garage stories of your own, we want to hear them. Share your experiences in the comments below, and let's keep the chills going. Until next time, my spooky friends, sleep tight and keep those garage doors locked. You never know what might be lurking in the shadows just beyond your doorstep.